Good Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us for Unscripted here on Up North Live. You may have noticed some melting going on outside. We are having some temperatures above freezing, which does seem like a little bit of a heat wave compared to what we have been seeing. For a complete look at that weather forecast, here's Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. Look at a few spots. Well, look at Whitefish Point. Oh, gosh, a lot of snow coming down there. Some lake effect snow. Mackinac Island, though, okay. And then if you look at the bottom two cameras, Petoskey, also Gaylord, they are iced up. We've had some freezing drizzle in the last couple of hours in those areas. So we'll start with a look at radar. This is some of that freezing drizzle. I imagine it's probably expanded a little bit where you can't quite see it here on radar, but roads are slippery here. And again, confirmation of that with our camera there in Gaylord, freezing up. Temperatures, you can see why. Gaylord 29, you throw a layer of drizzle down on the ground and, well, that's the outcome. It's a little slippery. We'll look at that. We'll take a look at the rest of the forecast and I'll look at toward Valentine's Day too in a few minutes.
Thanks, Joe. We start with a developing story tonight. The highly anticipated Gordie Howe International Bridge between Detroit and Canada is in question. President Trump's threatening to stop it from opening unless Canada makes some trade concessions. Up North Live's Remington Hernandez has this covered from all angles, from the governor's reaction to how this could affect the U.S.-Canada relationship.
Trump is known for his book, The Art of the Deal, but he may be putting a deal inked well before even his first term in jeopardy.
The groundwork for the Gordie Howe Bridge was laid in 2012, with Michigan and Canada seeking another connection between Detroit and Windsor. The first shovels hit the dirt in 2018, and the bridge is supposed to open this year. But on Monday night, President Trump blasting Canada's trade inroads with China, claiming Canada has treated the U.S. unfairly for decades, that it owns both sides of the bridge and built it without U.S. products. Trump continued by demanding Canada compensate the U.S. for everything it's been given and that Canada treat the U.S. with fairness and respect, or else the bridge won't open. In reality, while Canada has financed construction, the authority in charge of the bridge is controlled by Canada and Michigan. Labor and steel from both countries were used in the project as well. Governor Gretchen Whitmer calling it a tremendous example of bipartisan and international cooperation.
It is a really important part of our economy, the largest crossing in North America. It is important that it continues to move forward and open up on time.
She says the bridge is going to open one way or another, and she looks forward to attending the ribbon cutting. State officials are having conversations with the Trump administration, but Whitmer has not spoken to the president personally.
We met. We can bring some information to D.C. so that they understand why this has to continue.
Republican Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall is in Washington right now and says he fully supports the president's approach. Hall believes Trump is using the ultimate leverage and that the U.S. and Michigan will come out ahead. Hall's staff says he's set to meet with the U.S. Commerce Secretary and Trade Representative, and the bridge is likely to be a topic of discussion. Michigan business leaders are wary. Foreign policy experts also feel Trump's comments are damaging relations with Canada.
What Canada's doing is perfectly rational. Canada's not pulling away from the U.S. They're being pushed away from the U.S., and Trump's comments only make that worse.
Professor Matthew Zeeler says the disagreements are short-sighted, but could have drastic long-term effects, especially in the U.S.
Something like a quarter of U.S.-Canada trade goes through these bridges, and from Detroit to Canada. To hurt that, to make it work slower, that just hurts the U.S. economy.
How exactly Trump could stop the bridge's opening is up for debate, but experts say he could choose not to staff border checkpoints or even close the border. At the Capitol in Lansing, I'm Remington Hernandez reporting.
And sticking with this issue regarding the Gordie Howe Bridge that connects Canada to Michigan, we're joined tonight by Up North Live's Remington Hernandez. Remington, thank you for making the time to speak with us.
It's always a good time to speak with you, Melissa.
We just saw your package, which you covered from all different angles, and you gave us the understanding of what Trump is wanting. We heard from the governor. To give a summary right now where everything stands for someone who might just be tuning in, can you just explain the very latest with what we know?
So Monday night, Donald Trump went on his Truth Social platform and went and criticized Canada for how it's going about its trade policy, specifically with its inroads with China. Canada is going and doing trade talks with China. Trump feels that Canada, who is also in talks with the United States on trade, is not playing fairly and has been, going against the United States or not having a fair deal with the United States for many years. So he sees the Gordie Howe Bridge as leverage in order to get Canada to talk. Because I spoke with experts today who said and politicians and other state officials and from Canada as well will tell you that the Gordie Howe Bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, every port of entry there going into from Detroit to Windsor is a major economic boom and driver for Michigan and the country. I mean, it is the largest crossing in North America in terms of what goes across and the economic activity. So Trump using that as leverage to see if Canada can come to the table and have more favorable terms for the United States.
Remington, if this were to happen, if the president were to get his way, what he wants, and this bridge is closed essentially, what would that mean for the U.S. and Canada? Especially, you mentioned, not only relations, but this is huge when it comes to being able to transport products over this bridge from the U.S. to Canada.
So we still do have the Ambassador Bridge, and obviously we have Port Huron and Sault Ste. Marie. That these pieces of economic drivers, whether it's cargo, cars, what have you, they can still go across in Detroit at the Ambassador Bridge. The problem that the Gordie Howe Bridge looked to solve was just how much volume was coming through on the Ambassador Bridge, and that was a lot. So it will just continue at that pace if the bridge does get closed. I mean, as I said, it's up to debate on how he can do this. I mean, the DHS has already agreed, to staff it, so he could revoke that or what have you. But Governor Whitmer seems to think, and a lot of officials seem to think, that this will happen no matter what. That you can't put the genie back in the bottle. The bridge is built, so it's not just going to sit there.
Yes, we heard from the governor in your report saying these plans will continue forward, that the bridge will be open. What are the next steps, Remington? Where does everything go from here?
The United States is already talking to Canada, as I said, to kind of figure out the economic situation. And it just goes from there. I mean, Trump wants Canada to be more favorable. I mean, early on, we heard he wanted Canada to be the 51st state early in the campaign and early on in his term last year. And now he's talking about getting a better deal. I mean, the crux of this is the USMCA, the United States Mexico-Canada Agreement, which is, being renegotiated again. That was first negotiated to replace NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, back in Trump's first term. So the talks continue, and we'll see where it goes from here. But the Gordie Howe Bridge is, from now, still set to open later this year.
Right. Remington, always great to hear from you. Thank you for making the time to speak with us on Unscripted. If you would like more information about that report, it will be on our website. You can see the next steps and, of course, coverage of the bridge to Canada from Detroit on UpNorthLiveNews.com. In continuing coverage, Governor Whitmer signing a ban on cell phones in classrooms all across the state into law. Taking effect next school year, this ban is geared to prevent students from using any wireless communications device on school grounds during instruction, leaving room for district officials, that is, to put more restrictions in place if need be. Devices that are medically necessary, district-owned, or instructional devices and emergency situations will be exempt from the ban. And this topic brings us to our question of the day. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. Do you agree with the new cell phone bans that will be going into effect for the next school year? Check out our poll on our website, UpNorthLive.com. You can scan the QR code on your screen. You can also check out our Facebook page, Up North Live, and leave your comments there. As always, we will check out the Facebook page and our website poll results coming up toward the end of the show. The longest running free Memorial Day historical program in the United States potentially coming to an end. The Mishla-Mackinac pageant reenactment was not granted a permit by the Mackinac Island State Park Commission for the annual event this year after questions over accuracy and the depiction of Native Americans. Up North Live's Cody Bear spoke with both sides and has more in this exclusive report.
It's definitely a special thing and very, very hard to lose for so many. It's going to hit hard.
Every year for the last 61, on Memorial Day weekend, hundreds of cast members gathered in Mackinac City. It's for a 3-day reenactment of the 1763 Fort Michilimackinac battle between the French, British, and Native Americans.
It's like family to most. I mean, there's multiple generations that are participants and have family that started this way back that still participate.
But last week, the Mackinac Island State Park Commission did not permit the Fort Michilimackinac Pageant Reenactment Board to continue the event on fort grounds.
It's not a modern approach to telling such a story. So we would look to see something different in the future.
The conversation has been ongoing, with a meeting last November between the Commission, the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians, the Little Traverse Bay Bands, and the Reenactment Board. It came after both tribes brought up concerns with the reenactment.
The commission asked the parties involved, the two tribes, and the pageant to come together at a mediated meeting to talk over their differences and pursue a solution to the issue of the pageant.
Brisson didn't speak on behalf of the tribes, but during the February 6th commission meeting, questions about accuracy were brought up. Neither tribe was involved in putting on the reenactment.
The tribal representatives have raised concerns about some of the depictions and the way the pageant is presented.
After all sides met, the commission came up with a proposal to change the way that history is commemorated, including information stations about the battle.
Would be third-person interpretation rather than first-person interpretation, as currently happens, for example.
The proposal would replace us. So we would no longer be able to share what we have created with the public.
Both tribes agreed, but the reenactment board did not respond, something the commission cited when denying the permit.
Any response would have been better. It's possible the negotiations could have continued. They could have come back with an alternate proposal.
I couldn't respond to a proposal with an outstanding permit.
As far as bringing the reenactment back to Fort grounds in the future, Brisson says those changes would still need to be made.
It's not only a first-person interpretation, it's a theatrical, a dramatic interpretation of those events. And that's something that we just don't do at our sites.
Cody Bear, Up North Live News.
Now, we reached out to both tribes involved in this discussion. We didn't hear back by airtime. The reenactment committee said that it's now looking for new places to hold the annual event. All right, stay with us. Freezing drizzle across the north. We'll tell you which places are seeing it. Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix has those details coming up.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Didi Catton with the National News Desk in Washington, D.C., and this is your news update.
From January 20th, 2025 through January 20th, 2026, ICE has conducted nearly 379,000 arrests. Among those arrests were more than 7,000 suspected gang members and over 1,400 known as suspected terrorists.
Department of Homeland Security officials testified on Capitol Hill today amid President Donald Trump's ongoing crackdown on illegal immigration. Another potential government shutdown looms due to DHS funding disagreements. Democrats want major changes at immigration and customs enforcement. Republicans say shutting down the department would make America less safe. Next, the U.S. military struck another suspected drug trafficking boat in the Eastern Pacific, killing 2 people. U.S. Southern Command said on X the vessel was operated by designated terrorist organizations transiting along known narco-trafficking routes. They said it alerted the Coast Guard afterwards to begin search and rescue operations for 1 survivor. Plus, the Trump administration is rolling back the Obama-era funding that underpins federal greenhouse gas regulations. This sweeping climate policy change reverses the endangerment finding, which said 6 greenhouse gases threaten public well-being. The Trump administration argues energy abundance is critical. The deregulation will affect vehicle emission standards. And that's your news update.
The National News Desk can be seen on ABC 29 and 8 on Saturday night and 11:30 and Sundays at midnight. Welcome back to Unscripted here on Up North Live. Taking a look at that weather forecast, we're going to turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. We mentioned this a little earlier, but take a look in Gaylord right now. Our live camera there, iced up. We've had a little bit of freezing drizzle to kind of wind down our Tuesday here. It's not everywhere. Not everyone is dealing with this, but there are some spots that are. We'll start with that. Here's a look at our satellite and radar imagery. So I imagine there may be a couple snowflakes mixing in here too, but this is kind of where some of this drizzle is working through, including Harbor Springs, Petoskey. Our camera there also iced up in Petoskey. Gaylord seeing some of that. So for the next few hours at least, some of the back roads, untreated roads, could be a little bit slippery. Meanwhile, we jump further north up into the UP. This is our snow up around Marquette, where it is colder. They're in the 20s, while we have mainly 30s here. Another little batch of snow heading toward the Sault Ste. Marie area currently. Here's our weather map tonight. Low pressure passing through. Actually, looking ahead here now, maybe a little bit of lake effect snow, but the weather looks pretty quiet through at least early next week. Once the system moves on. The only thing is we could get a little bit of lake effect snow. Temperatures are in the 30s. It's almost 40 at Saginaw still. Marquette 25. A little colder weather here, and that's heading our way. If you look at our wind direction, our winds right now are out of the northwest. In fact, it's kind of breezy. Newberry sustained winds right now at 21 miles per hour. So that'll drag in those 20s overnight tonight. Hopefully that'll bring an end to some of the freezing drizzle we have. And then in the short term, the next day or two, the only issue is just a little bit of lake effect snow at times. Nothing extremely organized. We're getting a lot of ice cover on Lake Superior, some on Lake Michigan, so that's cutting down a little bit on the lake effect snow. And it's not all that cold, only 20s. So not a whole big temperature difference between the water and the air. But still, that being said, a few snow showers around tomorrow off the lakes as we head into Wednesday, and probably winding down on Thursday with a mostly cloudy sky. Friday, maybe a flurry in the morning. Otherwise, just kind of a cloudy day, it looks like, to end the work week as milder air continues to work back into northern Michigan. So higher totals, maybe near and north of Newberry, up to 3 inches there. If we can get some of these bands of snow focused in that area, perhaps a couple on Mackinac Island. Otherwise, everybody else pretty much looking at an inch or less of lake effect snow the next day or two. Here's the long range snow forecast for the next week, Tuesday to Tuesday. There's what falls tonight and over the next couple of days, not much. And we don't really add to it because we're looking at a quiet and also later in the week into next week and a bit of a mild stretch too. So tonight, 20s, scattered lake effect snow showers, some freezing drizzle is mixing in, especially in interior northern lower Michigan, northwest winds. And then tomorrow, scattered lake effect snow primarily west of I-75. 24 in Sault Ste. Marie, same at Gaylord tomorrow. Scattered lake effect snow, Atlanta, 26. They're around Johannesburg. Elk Rapids, Quaden, upper 20s, scattered lake effect snow. And our southern counties, M55, US 10, we're just going to go cloudy here tomorrow. Maybe a flurry with highs between 25 and around 30. There's the extended forecast. Mild weather, 30s again on Friday, and it looks like a quiet Valentine's Day weekend. Highs in the mid-30s to around 40 degrees.
All right, thanks for that, Joe. Coming up, Sports Director Harrison Beebe talks with the latest member of the 2,000 Point Club for high school basketball, and she's hoping for a lot more team success for her Mayo Thunderbolts. That's coming up next. Welcome back to Unscripted on this Tuesday evening. Sports Director Harrison Beebe is talking with Maya McGregor, who just passed the 2,000-point career scoring mark. And the Mayo Thunderbolt is only a junior with many more games to go in her high school career. But as she shares with us, there's a lot more to the game than just individual milestones.
Based on the way you've been scoring your whole career, you probably knew it was only a matter of time, but still, even as a junior, I'm sure that felt pretty special to achieve that milestone.
I had no clue that I was even close. When it happened, my mom called a timeout and I walked over and I was like, "Why'd you call a timeout?" And then she told me, and my teammates were super excited for me, but it's cool to achieve that goal, but it's not like the main thing I'm worried about. I'm more worried about winning, but it's nice that my hard work just paid off.
So you had no idea. I find that interesting. Your mom wouldn't even have given you a heads up, just going into the game or the game before or nothing like that. It was completely mom until it happened.
Yeah, and my mom said she didn't think I was gonna hit it that night. She thought I was gonna hit it at our home game the next night. But she knows, her and my dad know it's not like I could care less about scoring. So I don't think they really cared to tell me because they knew I wouldn't really care.
What do you like about this year's team and giving another shot to go for a regional championship?
I really like our shot this year. We have 6 new girls out of the 9. And then our other 2, one's a state champ wrestler, so basketball isn't even her main sport. And then we have one girl who's played since 6th or 7th grade. So we're very new to the sport. And we're just working on getting better. They can ask me like anything, and I'm like, they call me like mom or like grandma sometimes. So I think with our trust, like just outside of basketball, having trust and like our communication on and off the court, like I never yell at them. Like I'm their biggest fan, so if they mess up, I'll say like it's okay, we'll get the next one or something. So I think that's how I can like bring them along.
All right, and congratulations to her. That is incredibly impressive, I have to say. And thank you to Harrison Beebe for that. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the live results for our question of the day coming up after this.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Unscripted. We are taking a look at that question of the day. Do you agree with the new state law banning cell phones during the upcoming school year? Right now in our poll, 85% do agree. 50% say no to that new law in effect. Taking a look at some of our responses on our Facebook page, Up North Live. Lewis says, not if they have medical issues like my granddaughter. She has sugar numbers that are linked to her phone, and that shows up when her sugar is low. She is 10 years old. Kendra says yes and no, kids should not be on them during school, but in case of an emergency, she does agree with having those cell phones. Christy says yes, if there's an emergency or a reason a parent needs to get in contact with their child, they can call during school hours. And Sandy says any child with medical reasons gets approval through the office. Thank you for chiming in. Thanks for watching Unscripted. We hope to see you back here for Up North Live News at 11. Have a fabulous evening. Thank you.